lot of great stories every year in college football. One of them is Wake Forest. Deacons Illustrated. Connor O'Neill joins us now on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Connor, how shocked are you at what they're doing? I know that they're better, and you could think they were going to be better, but what they're doing now?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I would say I'm somewhere between shocked and not. And I mean, for a school like Wake Forest, you don't really expect to be 7-0 and 13th in the rankings, at least from my perspective. But this is a season that it's kind of felt like they were building to this for a few years. They had a shot to kind of be in a similar situation two seasons ago in 2019. You know, they got the 7-1, and that was when the team got their first ever CFP ranking, and then some injuries kind of hit them, or that would have been that would had the makings of a 10 or 11 win season there. So yeah, this is a season to be celebrated like it is an unexpected thing. But yeah, it's not completely out of the blue. It's not like UCF going from winless to undefeated in a matter of a couple years.
Their schedule coming up, and again, the ACC is an absolute unmitigated disaster past them right now. So you have to feel confident if you're Wake Forest about being able to at least close it out and be in the conference championship game. But it is tougher. I mean, Duke this week probably isn't as tough as a matchup, although Army gave them all they wanted last week. But North Carolina, NC State, Clemson, Boston College down the stretch that's the proving ground, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the proving ground. But the thing that is kind of it's shaping up like it hasn't shaped up in the past. I mean, Wake has, for a couple years, had trouble closing out seasons. Week by week, those games at the end of the year seem to be getting easier and easier for looking at it on paper. I mean, Clemson is losing guys left and right. Their offense looks worse and worse every week. North Carolina has just kind of fallen off where everybody thought they would be. Boston College lost their quarterback for the season. At least I think that was a season-ending injury. I don't think that's been official yet, but it sure sounds like it. And NC State, you figured, would be Wake's toughest competitor for that ACC Atlantic crown, and they go and drop a game to a bad Miami team last week. So it's still going to be those 4 games are probably going to be 4 of the hardest 6 games on Wake's schedule when you look at the entire thing. But they don't look like the murderer's row that they would have looked at when we looked at the schedule before the season.
Connor, we had the benefit when Art Briles was here at Baylor for a few years to kind of watch every week one of the best offenses in the country and one of the most kind of fascinating offenses in the country. And right now, Wake Forest has got one of the most interesting offenses in the country. Last week against Army, I mean, averaging less than 2 minutes per touchdown drive, scoring 10 touchdowns and hanging 70. What they do is unique compared to a lot of other schools out there. What's it been like to see the development of this offense, and what's it like to watch on a weekly basis the way that they operate?
It's pretty incredible. It hasn't been the same offense for all 8 seasons that Dave Clawson has been in Winston-Salem. The slow mesh really didn't start to show itself until, year 3 and year 4. And that was when they had an experienced quarterback with John Wolford running it. And by the end of the 2017 season, it was surgical. And that's kind of what we're seeing with Sam Hartman. We're kind of seeing history repeat itself a little bit. Now, their quarterback trajectories were not the same. I mean, John Wolford was thrown in there as a freshman and basically spent 2 years running for his life. But it's an offense that it puts a lot of pressure on the quarterback to read. And when you have an experienced 4-year starter at quarterback like Sam Hartman is, then you're going to have the upper hand on a lot of college defenses.
We have a chat room. Connor, that we have while the show's on YouTube, and this is from Keilani. Wake plays a unique offense, starts off like a usual spread, and then morphs into something insane, delayed run/up-tempo passing, which is kind of what, Craig, you alluded to. It's the most unique thing I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it's a slow mesh. I mean, the mesh point in an option offense is usually about half a second. And in Wake's offense, some of them are half a second, but some of them can take 1 second, 2 seconds. You can even get to 3 seconds on the quarterback just riding the mesh point up to the line of scrimmage. And then at the end of that mesh point, he can pull and throw a slant, throw a go route, throw a skinny post. I mean, it is option football. Dave Clawson had some funny quotes last week, basically saying that they run the triple option. They just run it with sexier formation.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, not every, but most of Wake's offensive plays have three options to them. It's either a quarterback run, a handoff to the running back, or a pass. And it's triple option football. It's just not the triple option football you think of when you see a bunch formation and some slot backs coming in motion and a possible fullback dive or quarterback keeper, that kind of thing.
Is there any concern that Dave Clawson could, be up for some other jobs given the job he's done at Wake Forest? I mean, he is really a perfect fit there.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have a season like this and a season where, you kind of extrapolate it out to what the rest of the season is going to look like, you figure somebody like that is going to get attention from other schools. The thing about it is Dave really is a perfect fit at Wake Forest. He's always been, other than his one season at Tennessee as the offensive coordinator, he's always been a guy who's been at a small academic private university. I mean, it was Richmond, it was Bowling Green, it was Wake Forest. Back before Richmond, it was Fordham. So, and he's a program builder. He's not the guy who's going to come in and win you 9 or 10 games with somebody else's players. He's going to build it from the ground up, and that has worked for him. And it's a proven system that he's got. But he's not going to be the guy that gets hired at say Texas Tech, even since they have an opening right now. He's not going to be the guy that's hired there and comes in and immediately wins. He's going to want to build it from the ground up. And there are a lot of places in college football where they don't let you go 3-9 in your first two seasons. That's Wake Forest went 3-9 in their first two seasons, and Dave will joke about how their offense was one of the worst offenses in the country. But he was given a pretty long leash, and he was able to build things from there, and that's how they've been to 5 straight bowl games, and the patience has been rewarded.
Connor, as you mentioned earlier, winning 7 games, I guess the fact that they're undefeated right now makes it a big deal, but they've won 7 games on a regular basis. I mean, last year was kind of the outlier because of COVID, but for about 5 consecutive years outside of 2020, they've won 7 or 8 games. They're pretty much guaranteed, given the schedule, to surpass that. But what is kind of the ceiling that Wake Forest fans or media are talking about right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think because they're undefeated, you can't not talk about a CFP berth, right?
Sure.
I mean, you're the only undefeated ACC team. The ACC has never been left out in the cold of the CFP. I mean, I think off the top of my head, I think them and the SEC are the only 2 conferences that can say they've always had at least one representative in there. And in the past couple years, the ACC got to claim Notre Dame last year. The ACC had 2 representatives in the CFP. So, as long as they're undefeated, you have to talk about that as a ceiling. You have to talk about the fact that, Wake Forest is probably going to be favored in at least 4 of their last 5 games. The one that they might not be is Clemson. And Clemson, you could make the argument, is maybe the second or third hardest team that Wake is going to play for the rest of the season, behind UNC and behind NC State. So, then you're looking at a ACC championship game in Charlotte against Pitt, as long as Wake can continue to run the table. And that would be high scoring and shootout, and who knows who would win. I mean, if you're looking at a 13-0 ACC team, I don't know how that team gets left out of the CFP. Now that's a long way to go, and that's obviously not to hit you with the cliche of all the coaches, but it's a 1 week season and that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, until they drop one, which, you know, I have some reservations. I don't know still how realistic it is to expect them to close it out and be 13-0, but you know, until they drop one, I think you have to talk about it like that.
I think you're right. There's no question about it. But we got to go, and I know you do as well, Connor. We appreciate it. One of the things we love about Wake Forest is I know it didn't end well at the end of his time there, but Jim Grove was one of the great special people of all time. He came over, of course, as you know, during Baylor's transition in 2016. We got to know him. We appreciated him a great deal.
Yeah, you will never find anybody in Winston-Salem that has a bad thing to say about Jim Grove.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great dude.
Or Waco, you know, I mean, basically, or anywhere else he's been. He is a guy I think they ought to put something up somewhere.
Well, it's impressive because of Grove and Clawson. They've only had 2 head coaches since 20 years. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good in today's landscape.
Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot, Connor. Congratulations. I know, not to you, you're not playing the games, but on what's going on with Wake Forest. Has to be fun to cover what they're doing. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, guys.
Connor O'Neill. Deacons, Illustrated, covering Wake Forest.
Yeah, if you haven't watched much Wake Forest, definitely watch just to watch their offense. It's really fun and unique, and you know they are sitting in a weird position right now because it's like get excited, but you're also like cautiously optimistic at the same time. You know, which is the best kind of nerves to have when you're at this point in the season. But yeah, I mean, for Wake, they're almost assuredly going to pass that kind of barrier that they've had the last 5 years or so, and who knows? I mean, the ACC, as we mentioned, is way down. They had North Carolina and Clemson down this stretch. At the beginning of the year, how tough did that look?
I know.
How tough does that look now? It's still tough, but not unbeatable.
Kalani, I hope I'm saying your name right. I did not see the Super Chat, $5. Ask him and I'll text him. If you could choose one national championship the next 20 years, would you want it in basketball or football at Wake Forest? I will text him that and get his answer, and I'll send it back to you.
I bet you Wake Forest people would say anything.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, Kobe Price covers the University of Miami Hurricanes, beat North Carolina State. Charleston Rambo from Cedar Hill High School won the Earl Campbell Tyler Rose Award weekly honor this week. That's next on